Jirachi, the mythical Pokemon known as the Wish Pokemon, and my wish is to someday catch Shiny Jirachi for myself. But before I attempt to catch this very rare Pokemon, we first have to understand what makes Jirachi so special and why it's pretty challenging in the first place to even attempt to shiny hunt for it. And then I'll be going on my very own journey to get Shiny Jirachi for myself. Jirachi is a steel and psychic mythical Pokemon with the ability Serene Grace that is native to my favorite region, the Hoenn region, which means that you can have it registered in the Pokédex in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, and also Emerald, Fire Red, and Leaf Green. I also want to take this time to highlight Jirachi's Pokédex entry from Pokemon Ruby. A legend states that Jirachi will make true any wish that is written on the notes attached to its head when it awakens. If this Pokemon senses danger, it will fight without awakening. I don't know about y'all, but I think it's pretty metal that Jirachi has this Rock Lee or Zenitsu vibe going on fighting while it's sleeping. Now, the reason why earlier I said registered and not find or catch is because, well, you can't capture Jirachi normally like how you would with Kyogre, Groudon, or Rayquaza. Jirachi is what you would consider back then a special gift Pokemon. Now, I didn't even know that Jirachi existed until the movie Jirachi Wishmaker came out, and it was hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that there was another powerful Pokemon that came right after Rayquaza in the Pokédex. So in order to obtain Jirachi and get that Dex entry in any 3rd generation Pokemon game, you would need to have a GameCube, either a European or Australian copy of Pokémon Channel, or the Pokemon Coliseum bonus disc, a GameCube to Game Boy Advance link cable, an English copy of Pokemon Ruby or Sapphire, and you need an empty team slot in your save file in Pokemon Ruby or Sapphire. Okay, so now that we're able to get access to Jirachi, how do we shiny hunt for it? As of recording this video, there are currently 3 working methods to get Shiny Jirachi. This first method is probably the least accessible just because of the sheer nature of it. But you are able to get Jirachi through the spin-off game called Pokémon Channel for the GameCube. Pokémon Channel is a strange one. The goal of the game is for the player to help Professor Oak fine-tune and promote his TV network by watching broadcasts in the game with your pet Pikachu. The more broadcasts you watch with Pikachu, the more channels you unlock until you have watched them all. Kinda like catch 'em all. My wife tells me that her favorite channel was the Mareep channel, and I could easily see why. It's pretty cute. You beat the game by watching all of the Pichu Bros episodes, but specifically in the European and Australian versions of the game, you receive a Jirachi as your reward for completing Professor Oak's report, and you can transfer it to your Pokemon Ruby or Sapphire once you enter the Hall of Fame. What's funny is that in these region-specific games of Pokemon Channel, they didn't shiny lock Jirachi, and it has that good old 8192 odds of being shiny. However, in order for you to soft reset for Jirachi in Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire through this method, you have to completely reset your game and enter the Hall of Fame yet again. And this is a very long process. But there are ways to make the resets go faster by using the game's safeguards against safe corruption, but I'll leave those details to the experts. Also, while researching this, I found out that the GameCube is region locked. So not only do you need the European or Australian copy of Pokemon Channel, but also a European or Australian GameCube. Without having any of those on hand, I had to look for a different method to get Shiny Jirachi. The second method is the US Pokemon Coliseum bonus disc, which contains a preview of Pokemon Coliseum, a sneak peek for the movie Jirachi Wishmaker, and of course, the Jirachi special gift. Just like the Pokemon Channel method, you can soft reset for Jirachi through the bonus disc, only this time you don't have to enter the Hall of Fame for each reset. All you have to do is get your starter Pokemon and your Pokédex from Professor Birch, and just start the process over again until Jirachi shines. Also, just like Pokemon Channel, this special gift Jirachi is full odds, and not just any full odds, but the good old 8192. Wait, it's not 1 out of 8,192 odds? You're telling me it's 1 out of 7,281? Huh. That's weird. The soft reset time for the bonus disc method is much more forgiving than the Pokemon Channel method, but it still takes around 8 minutes for each soft reset. And there are people who have used this method to successfully obtain their Shiny Jirachi. So of course, I had to try it out for myself. But I didn't have a GameCube and I didn't have the funds to buy the bonus disc online, so I went to someone else who had access to the bonus disc instead. It's 2023 and I'm attending my first ever Pokemon International in Columbus, Ohio. I wasn't competing or anything, but I wanted to spectate the competition and hang out with the community. During my preparation for the trip, I came across a post from the username Beanie that said he'll bring a portable GameCube setup for the bonus disc Jirachi and the Eon ticket. I didn't have a Jirachi in either of my Pokemon Ruby or Sapphire games, so I thought it would be a cool opportunity to get one in person. Before packing out my cartridges, I had to make sure that the games at the very least had a Pokédex. And besides the classic text box, the internal battery has run dry. It seems like everything was good to go. Once the competition had started and spectators could roam around, I saw Beanie walk up to an empty table with a suitcase, and lo and behold, it was the portable GameCube setup. He gave me the rundown of what to expect with Jirachi, and since I only brought 2 cartridges for the bonuses, that meant I only had 2 attempts for Shiny Jirachi. Because let's be honest, I wasn't going to sit here and start up a new save file for each soft reset. I would never make it back home at that rate. The first cartridge to attempt Shiny Jirachi was my childhood copy of Pokemon Sapphire. Granted, it wasn't my original team, but the cartridge I had for 20 years nonetheless. The whole process was pretty cool. The bonuses had this cutscene for Jirachi, and I thought it was a nice touch of how it appears to fly away from the GameCube to your Game Boy upon transfer. I also love the message that you get from the game once you receive it. You got Jirachi. Please take good care of it. If it was shiny, it wouldn't appear here in the screen. You would have to boot up your save file and check Jirachi's summary, and not shiny. The next attempt was made in Pokemon Ruby, and we got to see the cutscene of Jirachi again, and not shiny. I mean, that's okay. I have 2 Jirachi now from the bonus disc. Thanks again to Beanie for bringing this cool setup to the event and for allowing me to grab the Eon ticket as well. With the bonus disc attempts being a bust, it was time to pivot to another method for Shiny Jirachi. Now, the final and most recent method to get Shiny Jirachi is by completing the wish-granted Masterwork Research in Pokemon Go. Masterwork Research is a form of special research that requires tremendous amount of work in order to get the final reward. And trust me, the rewards are worth it. Back in early 2023, the Masterwork Research was revealed in Pokemon Go Tour Hoenn Las Vegas, and the reward for completing all the tasks was a Shiny Jirachi. Now, I'm not gonna sit here and debate about Pokemon Go shinies, but my stance is that Pokemon Go shinies are just as legitimate as shinies you would find from Generation 2 games to the current generation. Simple as that. With the availability of the Coliseum bonus disc being extremely hard to get, and for a reasonable price, having Shiny Jirachi accessible through Pokemon Go sounded pretty good, and for a good price compared to all the other methods. Now, it's not like the game just hands you the shiny. No, you do have to work for it, and sometimes it can take years to do so. It took me a bit over a year to get my Shiny Mew through the Masterwork Research, and I caught it at Pokemon World in London back in 2022. There are 6 pages to the research, and here are the requirements that you need to complete in order to get access to Shiny Jirachi. On page 1, you need to catch 385 Pokemon from the Kanto region, because Jirachi's Pokédex number is 385. Catch 385 Pokemon from the Johto region, catch 385 Pokemon from the Hoenn region, and you need to get a gold Hoenn medal, which means you need to have 90 Pokemon registered in the Hoenn Dex. For page 2, you need to have 1 best buddy, which means maxing out the hearts on a Pokemon, and they get a cute little ribbon. And also earn a heart with your buddy 14 days in a row. On page 3, you need to catch 5 Kecleon, which, if you've never played Pokemon Go like this is one of the hardest things to do in the game, because Kecleon blends into the Pokestops and they are very, very, very hard to find. Also, you need to spin a Pokestop 14 days in a row. On page 4, get a lucky trade and make 100 excellent throws. This one comes down to how much skill you have at chucking Pokeballs. On page 5, catch 500 Pokemon, catch a Pokemon 7 days in a row, and reach level 40. Obviously, if you haven't reached level 40 yet, this might take you a bit longer to accomplish. And finally, on page 6, you get to claim your Shiny Jirachi. I spent the majority of my Pokemon Go time passively completing the task for the Masterwork Research. The ones I got stuck on for this quest was anything dealing with days in succession, because sometimes I just forget to play and spin my Pokestop. The Kecleon task was so hard because these spawns are so rare and unique, and the 100 excellent throws, I'ma be honest, that was clearly a skill issue on my end. I am just not good at throwing Pokeballs. It wasn't until I returned from another Pokemon journey, another video I was working on, so make sure to hit that subscribe button, that I finally got to the last page of the Shiny Jirachi Masterwork Research. But I wasn't just going to catch it in my bedroom or someplace boring. No. This mythical Pokemon deserves to be caught someplace special. Someplace where I will have a long-lasting memory of where I caught it. Pokémon Worlds 2024 in Honolulu was on the horizon, but I already caught a shiny mythical at Worlds before and didn't want to repeat that. I wanted to take this capture to the next level. I've always had a fascination of Earth geography, and even more so as a kid when I found out that the Pokemon regions were based off of real-world locations. In Pokemon Sun and Moon, if it wasn't obvious, the Alola region is based off of the Hawaiian Islands. The Pokemon World Tournament was taking place in Honolulu, which is on the island of Oahu, which translates to Mele Mele Island. And I wanted to catch my Jirachi over here on the island of Hawaii, also known as the Big Island, which translates to Ula Ula Island. And you know what's on Ula Ula Island? Yep, that's right. Mount Lanakila, which is the host of the Hokulani Observatory and Victory Road in Pokemon Sun and Moon, which translates to the real-world location of Mauna Kea. What makes Mauna Kea so special is that it is a dormant shield volcano and the highest peak in Hawaii. But that's not all. Mount Everest has the highest elevation from base to peak, standing at 29,032 feet, but Mauna Kea from base to peak is 33,500 feet, making it literally the tallest mountain in the world. It's just the majority of it is underwater, so Mount Everest still holds the title for highest elevation, but not tallest mountain. And if it wasn't clear earlier, yes, Mauna Kea, by definition, is the tallest mountain on our planet, and I wanted to catch my shiny Jirachi on the summit. Departure day for Pokemon Worlds was here, and I made sure that my travel buddy, Jirachi, was all packed up. The flight to the state of Hawaii, or the Alola region, was pretty long, but not too bad, and we also had another flight to catch to make it to the Big Island. The plan for getting to the summit of Mauna Kea and capture shiny Jirachi was simple, on paper. We technically could hike up there ourselves, but it would be safer and less time-consuming since we were on a tight schedule for Worlds if we went with a tour guide with a van instead. But there were a couple unknowns that could nullify the capture plan. Number one, the Big Island is notorious for having unpredictable weather, and bad weather could mean that the tour would be cancelled, and I would be very sad. Number two, there's a possibility that I wouldn't be able to connect to Pokemon Go that high up. I'm kind of riding on pure hopium for that one. And lastly, altitude sickness. We were warned quite a bit that we could experience altitude sickness. I don't have a fear of heights or anything, but I have to be cautious of how much energy I'm using when I'm that high up. Otherwise, I would not be in any condition to capture shiny Jirachi. Me and my wife arrived at the first island, Oahu, and we waited for our second flight to the Big Island. It was a pretty short flight, and once we landed, we were ironically greeted by a rainbow. Jirachi Day was here, and the first thing we did was go outside and check the weather. It was a bit more cloudy than expected, but we didn't receive a call that anything had changed for the tour. I double-checked the Jirachi research page on Pokemon Go just to make sure everything was in order. And once we packed everything up, including our travel buddy Jirachi, it was time to go to our pickup spot for Mauna Kea. This is Addison. He's our tour guide for Mauna Kea. Also, he's really cool and listens to Zelda music. It was going to be a couple hours before our rest stop on the tour, and in the meantime, Addison gave us a history lesson on the Big Island and Mauna Kea. As we were driving up, the weather started to clear up a bit. And not only that, but it seemed like the clouds were getting closer and closer to us. We made it to our rest stop, and it was surreal being above the clouds. The temperature also drops quite a bit, so we had to layer up. We had some time to explore before we continued through our journey, so of course I had to get some photos of Jirachi above the clouds. Wait a minute. Is that the moon? We made our way back to the van and we were almost to the summit. However, what I didn't realize is that I used up a little too much energy exploring at that high altitude, and I had to replenish my stamina fast with some of the food that was given to us. As we were going higher and higher, you could clearly see that we were way above the clouds. And not only that, but you can see the observatories that inspire the Hokulani Observatory in the Alola region. With the sun in front of us and the moon behind us, we beat the altitude sickness allegations, seemed to connect to Pokemon Go, and with the help of good weather, we finally made it to the summit of Mauna Kea. All we had to do now was wait until sunset to capture shiny Jirachi. Okay, as you can see, the sun is setting now. We're getting ready to finally After like a year and a half of waiting to capture our shiny Jirachi. We completed all the tasks up to here. We're about to hit our claim reward right as the sun is about to set. That's so cool. We got our Stardust, we got our experience, we're about to start our encounter. We got a white screen right now. Oh, there it is! Oh, with the stars! Oh, what? Where is it? Oh, there it is! There he goes. What's up, little buddy? There is our shiny Jirachi. Alright, we're gonna miss this capture, but that is okay. We get it on the third try, but there it is. I'm getting goosebumps, not because it's just cold, but actual goosebumps. We did not get our shiny from the bonus disc from Coliseum, so we're getting it here in Pokemon Go on literally one of the highest points in the world, which is pretty awesome. And we caught our shiny Jirachi. Oh, look at that! And there is our geolocation in right. Let's go ahead and see that.
Not good. Is it awful?
You know what?
Is it awful?
It's pretty bad stat-wise, but you know what? That's my bad statistically, Jirachi. Oh gosh, that could be better, but you know what? I'm glad I waited this long to get it, because now we get to enjoy the sunset. I've waited quite a while for my shiny Jirachi journey to come to a close, and honestly, this journey will be one to remember. One other method that I didn't mention to get shiny Jirachi was the distribution of it in the 6th generation Pokemon games, but only in Japan, and it had a limited runtime back in 2014. No matter how you look at it, getting shiny Jirachi is a challenge. It's the journey that makes it all worth it in the end though, and going on a real life Pokemon journey has always been a dream of mine. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again on my next Pokemon adventure.